And welcome back to another episode of Pokemon Knowledge. Man, there's so many things in this hobby that I absolutely love. It is like this extremely enduring hobby, right? But man, there's just one thing that just constantly over and over again, I see it's repeat itself. And I'm going to say this in the nicest way I can. And I don't want you guys to take this word and take it in a wrong way. But man, there's a lot of people in this hobby who are just very fickle. And what does fickle mean? It just means that they like to move on to the next hype thing, shiny thing. Listen, normally historically in this hobby, collections are one thing, and I've gone through a lot of binder collections in my life. I've purchased or I've seen, binder collections of what people have, and I look at some of these real older like binder collection. Definitely some of the stuff from like the like the Nintendo timeline, and I look at them and I go, wow, this person must have opened so many packs back in the day. Like he must have opened like an entire booster box of certain sets, and you look at it and you're like amazed at some of this stuff. And then some of the really big collections, you're like, maybe this guy opened two booster boxes worth of stuff. And it's just wild. Today, I see binder collectors of new people in this hobby, and I look at those binder collections and my in my head, if this was vintage stuff, my jaw would drop. Just not only would it drop, it would might as well just drop off my face and hit the floor because you think about like, oh my God, how many cards and how many packs and how many booster boxes and did this person open? Because it's just overwhelming, especially knowing modern pull rates today opposed to some of the vintage stuff. Like vintage pull rates, for hollows and stuff, you're looking between one in every three pack. That's about a 33% chance of pulling a chase card. Because back then, hollows were the chase card. Sure, when you go into the, like EX timeline and stuff, then it became the EXs and stuff like that, or maybe go a little bit before that and look at like right at the end of Wizard of the Coast, and you could start to look at the Neos and maybe look at the Shinins and then start to look at like I guess Aquapolis and Skyridge with the crystals and then go into, your EX cards and the Nintendos and stuff like this. So it does change a little bit, but it's not impossible pull rates. Where today, modern stuff is more or less impossible for the average person to go and complete it. But I look at some of these sets and I go, wow, these are super impressive binder collections. And they got gold cards and secret rares and full arts. And my head, I can't even like comprehend the dollar amount people are paying to open all this stuff. But the problem is I look at those cards and I'm like, there's a lot of those cards. And not only are there a lot of those cards, there will be a lot of those cards from now until forever. I look at some of these collection buys, some purchases, some like cards ending soonest on eBay, and I'm looking at a lot of these chase cards, and I'm like, okay, some of the most expensive chase cards, or even some of the like the non-fan favorite alternative art cards, like, you could think of like the super mass reduced ones, like the Sandacondo V, right? Like that's an alt art card. It technically has the same pull rates as other alt art cards, but that's a card you could probably pick up for $10. And some of this lower end stuff I'm seeing with the prices it's selling at, I'm like, people are losing a lot of money, and that's scary to think of how much money people are losing. So that brings us to the title of this video, right? If you're not first, you're last. And my worry is I'm not sure what people's intentions are, what people's goals are in this hobby, because I think a lot of people that are doing these buys and looking at Pokemon, I do feel they're looking at it from, you know, a collectability aspect, which is fine, but I do believe that they're looking at it as an investability aspect, or they are looking at it as something that they want to make money. Because I've seen the questions people ask, the same people with these massive binder collections that must have cost them thousands of dollars, and in some cases, tens of thousands of dollars, which remove yourself from what is the 2020, 2021, 2022 crazy hype we are in. For anybody to have spent $10,000 opening a product was an astronomical amount. But today, I feel like if somebody were to say, "Oh, I spent, you know, 7 grand, 10 grand to acquire all this stuff," like nobody really bats an eye because the time has changed so much. But then it comes back to, well, what's your intention? What's your goal? What do you want from this hobby? And that's what I need to start asking that question, or at least if I'm not asking it, people in this hobby need to start asking that question for themselves. What do you want from Pokemon? Like, what are you trying to get out of this? Are you trying to grow as a collector? Are you trying to grow your personal collection? Like, what do you love? And the problem is I feel it's a lot of just I like this here, I like this shiny thing here, I want this. And then it goes back to that same topic I talk about over and over and over again. And one of the fears I see and the dangers is that people start to lose what I call like their collection identity. And what their collection identity is when they flip through these massive binders and they go through their collection, are they happy with what they have? They're like, does it truly bring them enjoyment? Or are they starting to look at some of this stuff and going, man, a lot of these cards from a lot of these sets cost a lot of money to acquire, or even, and there's different ends of the spectrum. There's the pack opening spectrum, but then there's the raw price too. And sure, if you are buying a lot of these cards now and you've waited for a lot of these prices to retrace in the market to more or less tank on a lot of these cards, believe it or not, I think that there actually is very good buying opportunities in Modern right now, which might sound crazy because I think there are some cards that are just, in my opinion, like glaringly undervalued for how hard they are to pull and how strong I think that demand still is. But there's the other side of that coin where right at release, right when those cards are literally the hottest, they're in the most demand when people want them the most. That's when the card prices are actually the highest. And that's when your worst buying opportunities are right at the beginning for a lot of these cards. And yes, there are definitely the exception. And look, we made it. We made it 6 minutes into the video till I mentioned Moonbreon. Sure, there's the one outlier. What would they remove the Moonbreon and just look at all the other cards right at release? The price is going to be the highest. And then you just see this gradual downturn. So when people are doing this, when they're acquiring these collections, I have to ask myself and ask them, like, what do you want? And a lot of things I think people are doing now go to what the title of this video that last half is, the flipping aspect. I do believe people want to buy these cards and they do want to eventually grade them. And I do believe that some of the newer people are maybe not as familiar with grading, which is fine. Everybody has to grade their first card at some point. I don't care if the first time you ever graded your card was 10 years ago or 5 years ago or 3 years ago or 1 year ago, or if the first time you ever grade a card is a month from now because you haven't even sent your first submission. Everybody's going to have their first at some point. And that is that important thing to get out of the way. It's just that first graded card. But when I look at their collection, I say, what do you want? And they're like, well, I want to grade this and maybe it'll be a 10. And if it's a 10, it'll be worth money. And then I'm like, well, when you look at your cards, all your 10 prices, your highest realized dollar amounts you're going to get, because what now these people are talking about is flipping. And sure, there is definitely the long-term aspect of a lot of these modern, like mass-produced cards, which I don't know where that trajectory is. I don't know if a lot of these, binders, people have spent tons of money, and now all these cards that are in these binders have had massive retraces. And I told you, I do believe there's buying opportunities. I don't know what that looks like into the future. I think there's buying opportunities for that flippability aspect of these things. There's a lot of like PSA 10s of like modern cards that sell for $50. And a lot of those cards are, $5 raw. $5 raw, $15 a grade. You're into that card for 20 to 25 bucks. You could flip it all day for $49.50. The problem is if you hit some nines on some of this stuff, you're going to start more or less breaking even. But these are areas I'm comfortable with, where some people, they hear that number break even and that makes them nervous. But then you look at what they have in the raw and I'm like, yeah, well, you spent $5 on this pack and that chase you pulled is worth $5. And that chase you pulled, you probably had to open 2 to 3 packs and really to pull that chase. So realistically, you're into that card for like $15 because you bought your 1 3-pack blister and that was your one pull. And the rest of the cards was more or less bulk and worth nothing. But people don't want to do that. They don't want to look at this stuff, but they have these like delusions of grandeur sometimes when it comes to their collections. And I just think that we're just walking this and trying to navigate this imaginary, such a fine line. And I think for some people, that line they're walking, it's almost like a massive, like 5-lane super highway. And they just got room on both sides of them. And it doesn't matter what they do. They could zigzag, they could walk, they could run, they could jog, they could skip for all I care. But then you got these other people who are walking this super fine imaginary line that's almost like walking a tightrope. And the people that are walking the tightrope, I get super nervous because they get very like narrow-minded, very one-tracked. And I've already heard and talk about like when I say the word fickle and people being a little fickle in this hobby, I've already heard people talking about the 151 set. And some people want to know my opinion on the 151 set, which when you think about it, at the time of recording this video today, we know nothing about the 151 set, more or less besides the name. I'll give you that. We know the name of the set and what that name entails. You know, sure, a lot of our minds are running rampant. Like we're speculating on the 151 set already, which we've said it again. It's almost to say the sentence is a meme within a meme, but the next set Pokemon ever makes is the best set. Every set Pokemon has ever made, the next set is always the best one. And listen, I'm already seen people talking about the 151 set as potentially being the greatest set Pokemon has ever released. And we haven't seen one card. One card. And don't get me wrong, I'm a Gen 1 baby through and through, 99 baby right here, you know? Like I grew up in 99. I was in 5th grade. Like you talk about being in, that was the time. So 151, I love the thought of it, you know? All the way, you know, from your Bulbasaur to your Mew. Like, love the thought of it. And I honestly, I'm willing to entertain that conversation where people are like, best set Pokemon ever made. I'm like, sure, I could see it. I don't know what the set's going to be, but I could see it. And this is that word fickle where it's just you move so quickly to the next thing. And Crown Zenith is the best thing right now. And then moving into Sword and Shield, and then we're seeing like a lot of the Japanese stuff, and people are already getting super hyped about that. And we're seeing a lot of hot takes on like the waifu market and stuff like that, and people really trying to do big brain type stuff, figuring out like why do people like waifu cards so much in Japan? Is it a cultural thing? Is it not a cultural thing? Like what is it? You know, why don't people love them as much in America as they do in Japan? Like if it's not it, and then they'll say, but it's not a cultural thing. It's I don't know what it is thing. Like no one knows, but everybody's trying the big brain, and I'm not even gonna like throw my hat into that ring because I don't know. But then you got all the hype for like the next set. And, you know, shout out to Danny Phantom. Danny Phantom made a great video the other day. He was talking about Chillin Rain, talking about Chillin Rain prices, especially for the raw prices. Listen, no matter what people tell you, if you go back and you watch all my videos and you hear the way I talk about Chillin Rain, I have been bullish on Chillin Rain since the beginning. The funny thing about Chillin Rain was when Battle Styles came out, Chillin Rain started like already being on the tip of people's tongues, talking about all this, you know, like starting to see all these massive trainer gallery cards. Chillin Rain was a hype set right at release. And then after that huge, massive dump, and at the third wave of reprints of Chillin Rain, and you can go back and there was in videos, I said to people, I said, listen, I would hold off on buying Chillin Rain because at the time they were selling between 120 and 140 a booster box, and I thought that was very high for Chillin Rain. Even though Chillin Rain had all these great subs or like secret rares and stuff like this, I thought it was a great set. And then eventually Chillin Rain dropped to as I made a video called As I Walk Through the Valley of the $79.95 booster box, I Fear No Evil. And then that booster box finally dropped below $80. And I made a video just talking about it where I thought then it was a good buy. And there was a lot of people picked it up for actually less than that. I know some people personally who were able to pick up positions in Chillin Rain at 73. And I said a million times, I never got that low. My lowest entry point was that $79.95 price. But then there were some people got in. And every time somebody would ask me about Chillin Rain, I'd always say the same thing. I'd say, I like Chillin Rain personally, because the way I value sets is just like a real broad baseline is I like to just look at cards that are selling for greater than $20. Sure, that's not an end all be all of any set or valuing any set. It's a silly way to do it, but it's just a baseline that I like to do. Anytime I look at Chillin Rain, I looked at how many cards are selling for greater than $20, and I was like, whoa, that's a lot of them. Now, this comes with that huge caveat. I'm sure people in the comment section will let me know. It's like, there's a reason why Chillin Rain was called Chillin Pain, because the pull rates on that were absolutely terrible. So there's no doubt about that. And I think that definitely hurt that set too. But you can look at a set like Evolving Skies too, and the pull rates are not a beautiful thing in Evolving Skies either. And especially as we live in the days of character rare subsets and all this stuff, and open up some Evolving Skies and brings you right back to those green code card days, and you're just like, ah, yes, green code cards. The vein of so many people's existence is just that green code card, and especially from Evolving Skies, especially from Chillin Rain. Like that green code card it's a painful thing. But now, as we're watching, what did Chillin Rain do? It's recovering back to where it was when I was telling people not to buy it. When I was telling people not to buy it was out between 120 and $140 amount. And here we are. It's kind of getting back to that point, which I don't think for most people that was ever a question of if that was going to happen. It was just a matter of when it was going to happen. And if you look at it, you look at the timeline that this is playing out, the timeline it's playing out is just damn near perfect. You couldn't write a book any better. Wave one, highest prices. Wave two, they dropped a little bit, but then they started to creep up slowly. And then wave three, massive reprint, prices crash. Everything is right in the world. Exactly what I said. Wave one, high. Wave two, not as high. Wave three, rock bottom. Thank God, a set like that played out exactly the way we thought. Mass produced, tons of supply. When supply was at the highest, prices were going to be at the lowest. And then as supply eventually got eaten up, which it did, it just took a little while. And then as supply got eaten up, we just watch as the price of this booster box starts to creep back up. Which, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people probably out there Chillin Rain booster boxes on PokemonCenter.com for 143 and change. And those people are still down money, and they've been down money now for going on to this point years. And not everyone had price points of $80 because either A, they weren't subscribed to my channel at that time, or B, they don't like to buy stuff when it's at the lowest. They only ever want to buy stuff at the highest. And it goes back to that modern conversation. And now in Pokemon flipping, if you're not first, you're last. Man, there's a lot of good opportunities out there. I see them every day. And listen, there will always be the niche plays. I'll give you an example. I got a card the other day. Well, when I say the other day, like a few months ago, I picked it up, $35 raw. It was simple. I bought it on eBay, Japanese seller I follow. He's one of the few like eBay pages. I follow a lot of eBay pages, but there's very few that I actually check daily. And he's one of the few people I check daily. He has a lot of buy it now listings, but he does a lot of auctions. And all his auctions, he does it very well. He stacks them next to each other. So it's like once a week, twice a week, he'll have auctions. So I'll just go and I'll look at his auction block and I'll see what cards I want. And he always has like beautiful raw near mint cards. He's one of those guys who doesn't sell anything graded. These are the people I look for. I'm just telling you like my tactics when I buy cards on eBay, or especially when I start to follow sellers. I follow sellers that aren't graded. So I look through his auctions and he has some good stuff. Those chase, those hype cards, those expensive cards. Oh, he does a lot of mid-air stuff, a lot of mid-air Japanese. It's Japanese seller. Sure, I'm going to give enough hints. Somebody out there is going to be like, I know exactly who he's talking about. But, Japanese seller. And I sit there and I go through I call it his auction block. And then I put a reminder in my phone. It goes off like 5 minutes before all his auctions, because they're all like stacked up. They start to end like a minute or 2 minutes apart. And it's just like this beautiful window of time. And I just sit there and I just wait. And a lot of the cards I'm buying, sadly, like I said, he has a lot of like hype cards, Charizards, big fan favorite cards, the cards you expect to sell for a lot of money, and they do. But there's always like a very small handful of his cards that for me, I feel just kind of slip underneath the radar. And very recently, one of the cards I picked up, mid-air EX card, not a high pop graded. I looked at, he always puts front and back pictures. I looked at the back of the cards. I'm looking at the edges. I'm like, this looks like a good 10 candidate. I got the card. It looked just as good in my hand as it did on eBay. I sent it to PSA. I bought the card from him for $35 at auction. I sent it to PSA at $15. I got it back. It hit a 10. And then I put it on eBay. 72 hours later, it sold for $250. And there was like no work involved in there. Now, this is the thing about that card. When I say 72 hours, you're like, okay, that card was up there for, greater than 3 days or right around 3 days. And it sold, like maybe you were priced too low. There was 2 other cards, same grade, same card, priced on the market. I did have mine priced lowest to sell. there was a recent auction of that card that sold for like 50% less than my card sold for. So less than $200. I sold mine for 250. And when I looked at it, after 72 hours, it only had like 11 views on it. But it still sold. Now, this is the thing. 11 views on a card in Pokemon today is nothing. Some of my like ultra modern plays that I'm posting online, especially like some of these super mass produced, especially like promos and stuff like that. You do like 3-day listings or 5-day auctions or 7-day auctions. By day 7 of some of these auctions, I'm seeing like watchers 60 plus, 70 plus on some of these super, super modern auctions. And that's just how many watchers I had. On a more vintage card, I only had 11 total views. Luckily, one of those viewers wanted that card enough to buy it, but it wasn't like it was just not out there. It was out there for 3 days and only had 11 views. And I'm sure there's some people out here selling modern stuff, and they're like, 11 views is nothing. You get 11 views, like you list that card, it's on eBay for 30 seconds for some of this modern stuff, and you got 11 watchers already. It's crazy, but it just shows you maybe for some of this vintage stuff, you can relax a little bit, because that card, I actually did sit on it for like a week, meaning it came back from PSA, and I sat on it for about a week, grading it, or not grading it, sat on it for a week before I listed it for sale. And the cards that I cycled through, the cards that I was listing first, were all the modern plays. And because that card was a little bit nichier, I felt I wasn't in a rush to sell it, and I felt that it was going to hold strong value for that week timeline when I was listing everything else. It kind of just sat. And ironically, like the profit margin in a card when you're into it for $50 and you sell it for $250, and sure, we're going to do the whole eBay thing and everything, and eBay's going to take their fee and you're going to pay for the shipping and stuff like this, but like all in for $50, do no work, in my opinion. Grading cards is no work, sell it for $250. But now for this modern stuff, it goes back to the title of this video. If you're not first, you're last. There's so many people I think are doing this modern play, but they're just sitting back and they don't have that luxury. So as these modern plays start to hit the market more and more, and they hit the market harder and harder, as they hit harder and harder and faster, we just watch as prices for these things go down. And they're continuing to go down. And there are exceptions of cards that like definitely buck that trend a little bit different. I shout out to now Dan Catch 'em All Collectibles. I caught a little bit of one of his lives today, and Dan talks about one of his most successful plays he's ever had with just Scream Pikachus. Now, when did Scream Pikachus come out? 2016? What did those cards sell for right at release? They were graded in 10. They were selling for like $100, but for that card raw, you could pick them up for right between like $10 and $20, and the most expensive of those cards being the Mimikyu. And that Mimikyu, because it was a little bit, it wasn't the Pikachu, it was a Mimikyu, because the Mimikyu was a little bit rare and scarce, so you had to pay up for that card. You had to pay up to $20, and you could grade it, and you could sell them for $100, and that was a great play for a lot of people. You look at that card now in a 10 today, and you go, whoa, 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 that card's not a $100 card. I just think we live in a different timeline, though. But then some people use that same argument with some of these modern promos and go, yeah, you're right, PK. Right now, we're seeing a lot of these cards on the market, and these cards are, most mass produced right now, and they're most abundant right now. But 4, 5, 6 years from now, you think they're going to play out very similar to, say, a Scream, Pikachu or Growlithe or Eevee or Psyduck or Mimikyu. And right now, today, I can't tell you if you're true or false right now, because all you're doing is you're looking at a card that, right at release was still abundant. It was mass produced, readily available. You could pick them up all day. You could pick up entire sets sometimes, for $40 of all the cards. And then that card right at release was selling for 100. And then now today it's selling for crazy amounts. So I think the problem is, again, people see these cards, and I don't think people really realize how different timelines are back then, and like how many people were actually acquiring, where today I feel like the market has just changed so much, where now it's just, and it's changed for me too. A lot of my plays, a lot of my most successful plays, and a lot of the plays I'm having the most fun with are just volume plays, which volume plays to some sounds terrible, but for me, volume plays just sounds great. Like Get 10 of one card, 20 of one card, send them all to grading, as long as they have good gem mint rates, gem mint 10 rates. Get them back, sell them as fast as you can, play that ultimate race to the bottom. And then at the end of the day, when you have 1 or 2 over and you're finally ready to put it into your set, do it. You know, the funny thing is I just looked down at the chat real quick. Fat Belly Collect says, Charizard UPCs, I can't lose. And that's the funny thing. If anyone lost at Charizard UPCs, they actually had to really try to lose at Charizard UPCs. You got to think, even if you bought them at 120 at release, those cards in a 9 were selling for $60. In PSA 10s, they are selling for greater than 200. And then some of the lower ones at auction were selling for 180. You have to really, really try hard to lose at Charizard UPCs. Like, really try. Like, you actually had to go out of your way and keep it sealed. Like, I'm not going to open this. This Charizard UPC, I'm not going to open. I'm not going to do any of the obvious plays. So when Fat Belly Collect says Charizard UPCs, it can't lose. It really was. You would have to really have went out of your way to lose at Charizard UPCs. And then the best part about Charizard UPCs, and the thing I love the most, is that we always have to say, Charizard UPCs, we have to value the packs at $0. We have to value the damage counters and the mats and the dice and the coin. We gotta value them at 0. Shout out to Dan Catch 'em all collectibles. The fact that he's selling his Charizard UPC coins graded in a 10. You guys want to puke a little bit? Go on eBay right now. Maybe don't click off this video, but after this video, go on eBay. Just check out Charizard UPC coin graded in a PSA 10. Last sale, $250. Good for you there, Daniel. You know, like, talk about somebody who couldn't lose on those. You know, he just went that one step further than everybody else. Everybody was grading those cards, you know. But this is the problem with Charizard UPC, is like, condition of them were really shitty. And then that's where it comes into, now experience comes in, where you open up that packet and that condition's really shitty. You got to send them away at $15 and you lose that play. And that's if a one-off, you know. You open up your Charizard UPC and you're the unlucky guy who has no 10 contenders out of the 3. Sorry, you got very unlucky. It only takes one Charizard UPC, especially right at release, to hit that 10 and sell for 180. And even if you're sending those cards at $50, you're all into grading fees for 150. One of your cards sells for 180. Then the other 2, you could just fucking YOLO into the market, especially right at the beginning, and just let Jesus take the wheel on that one. But then if you were really lucky, you got 2 10s, forget about it. Print. Get 3 10s, forget about it. You're printing upon printing. Those packs, Evolving Skies packs. I mean, just the amount of people that I know, like, especially pack breakers and stuff. The pack breakers who are breaking down these Charizard UPCs. You know, shout out to TCA Gaming. He made a huge play into Charizard UPCs. I think his mother-in-law or somebody just separated out all the packs that he had in Charizard UPCs and just filled up boxes for him. But now he has that ability where he has his, you know, live breaks and stuff he does on his site, and he can sell through those packs. And then some people are like, oh, the Charizard UPC packs were shitty pull rates, and other people are like, I pull nothing but ultra rares. And it's just like, listen, batching issues, stuff like this, it's just all the same. Fun times. All right, so I'm done with my rant. Made it like 30 minutes ranting, which is always the best part. I think some people like the rants, some people don't. Now I'm going to scroll up to the chat. I see some people saying, talking about the cool Trainer Ryan video. So I do want to talk a little bit about that. That was fun. I hope you guys liked it. And it was something different that I tried to do. And that's one thing I'm trying to do too, is I think sometimes people are like, you know, you talk about the investability of this hobby too much and do all this stuff. And it's like, well, I wanted to just make a video that was fun. That's all that video was made to be. It was just fun. Just a ridiculous parody, and try to put out a video once in a while that people weren't ready for. I don't think anybody was really ready for that video. Nobody expected that video to come out, and just have fun, man. And, you know, Ryan's my friend, so I get to, like, make that video and throw some shots at Ryan a little bit, and then just do it in fun though, right? Like, and it was fun. It was fun making it, and there was a lot of like intricate pieces that went into that. It was like it wasn't just like this easy video, like just making the backboard and the hair and everything, and then the background and the extra cameras and stuff like this. It was like a little bit of production. But I will give Ryan credit. If Ryan's out there watching this video, shout out to CTR. Flicking cards is not as easy as it looks. And there is a couple points in that video. There is some really ugly flicks, but it was a lot of fun. And I hope that everybody who clicked on that video, I want it to be like I think that you have to put in you have to sprinkle in the right amount of cringe, if that makes sense. Yes, the word cringe. Like it has to have a little bit of cringe put into it because that's just the icing on the cake in a way. And I felt I did a good job of just sprinkling in enough cringe in that video to really like put it off and make it a fun thing. And man, that video popped on me. Like I got a lot of views for my channel. Like I don't get views like that. That video is like close to like 8,000 views right now, or maybe now up. I'll probably be one of my best performing videos I ever make. It was just like a parody video but I had so much fun doing it. Now, I don't think I'll ever make a parody video of Ryan ever again, but like to do another parody type video in the future, like I wouldn't rule it out at this point. And I'm sure some people looked at that and see how successful that video is, and maybe they're like, oh, I'm gonna make my own parody video one day. But yeah, for all you guys that commented on that video, thank you. And if you haven't commented, we're giving away a old made Pikachu. And the next live I do, somebody remind me, we'll just do the live comment picker. That's always what I do. I just do the live comment picker. We could actually do it right now if you want. Let's see. YouTube. No, I don't have like all the tabs pulled up, but yeah, next live we'll just do that YouTube comment picker. All right. Let's see. And then another thing too is I'll try to talk about this topic too. This is a topic that a lot of people have like asked me about, a lot of people brought up. So my most recent live, if you had a chance to watch it, I had Pokemon TCG Drops. If you don't know who Pokemon TCG Drops is, he has a fantastic Twitter account. He's one of the few accounts that like puts out information. Like if you want to know when like certain products drop at Pokemon Center, or if there are certain good deals, people always ask me like, PK, how did you get your Scarlet and Violet booster boxes at 110? At this point, Pokemon TCG Drops has dropped like a ton of links for Scarlet and Violet right around that $110 mark, which at the time when I picked up my 110, it was the cheapest I'd ever seen. And he had never even posted 110. But since I bought mine, he's actually posted a few that were a little bit below that. So, and listen, I looked around pretty hard and 110 was the best I could find, like on a mass appeal type stuff. I'm sure if you guys have like friends or whatever, you could reach out to. Maybe we'll give you a better deal on Scarlet and Violet booster boxes. But the best I was able to get 110. I already talked about this. I only picked up 2 for booster box collection. I do 1 for myself, 1 for my son. My son's only 20 months old at this point. He's not going to get his booster box collection until he's probably like 18 years old. I don't know what that booster box collection is going to look like in 18 years. I don't know if those booster boxes are going to be worth any money, or if it's going to be like a lot of these booster boxes I have sitting right off the corner of my eye that are just worth absolutely nothing for some of these dead TCGs. I don't know, but I'm hedging that they will be worth money. So I'm just kind of tucking them away, 1 of each. But I don't know how Scarlet and Violet's going to play out. So I just bought my 2. And I did it very similarly too with Silver Tempest. Just bought 2. So anyways, during that live, we talked about a leaked photo from the printing facility that had stuff on the printer and of like what was being reprinted right now. And everybody was like, are they reprinting stuff? Are they just talking about Scarlet and Violet? And I couldn't say what it was, and I still can't. And I'm gonna give you guys all the reasons. I'll be 100% transparent for you. 1, if they are true, like you don't want to ruin that relationship right away. Somebody sends you a photo of what's on the printing facility, you don't want to ruin that relationship. I know people don't want to hear that. It's the truth. Don't want to ruin that relationship. Number 2, it wasn't sent to me, it was sent to somebody else. So I can't double up on that, ruin it for somebody. The third thing is, I don't know if that photo was in fact really from like this month, which I believe it is, but even if it wasn't, and it's an old photo, then I start putting out false information out there and I start telling you guys about this photo, and people start running with it and they start making their decisions based off of one photo that could or could not be real. So I can't throw that information out there because I have no way to verify it. Again, it wasn't sent to me, it was sent to somebody else. The next thing is, I only saw what set was being printed on a sheet. I can't tell you if that set was being put into single packs, ETBs, tins. Couldn't tell you. I don't know what products it's going into. It wasn't a photo of stacks of booster boxes or ETBs. It was just sheets on a printer right at the facility. Now, I can tell you that it was an older set. Does that narrow it down? Nope. Sorry. I'm sorry that I can't like give more information out there. Do I think that a mass reprint will affect the market? Probably. But the worst thing I could do is put out information that I can't verify. I can't like substantiate any of this information. So we did mention that, and I'm sorry that it came out in the live. It might feel like gatekeeping, like holding back information, but I just can't put out false information. Like that's the worst thing, because I will tell you right now, even if I were to tell you right now and preface it with, this might be fake and people might get burned on this. And if you're making decisions, this could be false. People will just run with it. And then if the reprint never comes and that photo wasn't real or whatever, people will love to come back at me and just say like, oh, PK was lying about this. All this information was false. Like he was out there, he was so confident in it and all this stuff. And just because he saw a photo and, none of this was real and he wasn't going to show the photo and all this stuff. And it's just like way too much to just take on and not be sure of it and to release that information out there. Just couldn't do it. So I'm sorry. And I know some people don't want to hear that, but that's just the truth. That's my thought process. That's my, I don't know. And is it like a play that affects the way I'm making plays in the market? Like, not really. I don't own big positions in anything. Some of the more modern sets, my biggest positions are 2 cases. The only product I have more than 2 cases of is Chillin Rain. Most modern products, like my big positions, are 2 cases. 2 cases doesn't make or break the market, and that's for booster boxes. And then if it was a specialty set, I'm not sitting on tons of cases, and cases would be ETBs, so 10 ETBs per case. I'm not sitting on a ton of cases of anything, so I won't be affecting the market if I was selling it. And I'm not really selling this stuff because I don't know how to take that information. It's the first time it was ever like given to me. And yeah, maybe that's not the answer people wanted, but that's the answer I'm going to give. I'm sorry. Probably be like the last time I really like talk about it, but I'm sure it will get brought up again. But I think it reinforces, we can have the conversation that at least reinforces that Pokemon is reprinting stuff right now. I'll tell you that. From what I understand, from what I saw, Pokemon's reprinting stuff. What I saw was not Scarlet and Violet. Have I been saying Sword and Shield the whole time when I was trying to say Scarlet and Violet? If I was, I'm sorry. And it wasn't Sword and Shield that was being reprinted either. It was Scarlet, and it wasn't Scarlet and Violet, but it was an older set. So Pokemon's definitely got the printers on burr mode, in my opinion. And I will tell you something. I think that what Pokemon is going to be printing right now, what we start to see come out, will be money grabs. Which money grabs might sound like a bad word, but I don't think it is. What you could really like define what's being printed is not just money grabs, but it's what's going to sell, in my opinion. So I think the highest likelihood of reprints are going to be the things that are going to sell through the easiest. And I think that Pokemon does want to do 2 things. I think the first thing is they want to reprint stuff during this window because I think they have the time, they have the allocation, the printer allocations. They have a decent amount of time between what we're seeing with Crown Zenith and what we're seeing with Scarlet and Violet. I think that is a long timeline. I think they want to print during that time. They don't want to print a bunch of Scarlet and Violet. They want to print stuff that they know is going to be in demand. And then the second thing they want is they don't want that stuff to be sat, meaning with the MSRP price increase, a lot of this older product is going to be on PokemonCenter.com at that original MSRP, whether it's for booster boxes. So specialty sets, you're looking at $49.99 for, regular booster boxes of regular expansions at $143. And the rest of their business model is now moved to this $160 plus for booster boxes or $59.99 for ETBs. They're moving to that higher price. So they don't want stuff that's just going to sit on their website at lower prices and potentially make people not want to buy the new stuff. Like, that's not Pokemon's business model. It has never been Pokemon's business model. Pokemon's business model is today, has been yesterday, and will be tomorrow to just move on to the next thing. Pokemon shows it time after time after time. Pokemon, and I've said it a million times, they are a absolute freight train on the track, and they just keep chugging along. And very rarely do they turn around and look in the rearview mirror. And sure, there's the glaring examples, and we've beaten all these things to death, like Roaring Skies, glaring example. Ultra Prism, glaring example. Hidden Fates, multiple reprints, glaring examples. They will do it, and we talk about those, but yeah, Pokemon just keeps moving along. So I think anything they're printing today, they're going to want to move. Now, Pokemon TCG drops did bring up a thought that I never really considered, never really like crossed my mind. Is my personal opinion was I felt between Crown Zenith and Scarlet and Violet that Pokemon was going to do a lot of reprints, but they were going to be done after March 31st. I never even considered the fact that maybe Pokemon would continue the reprint stuff after Scarlet and Violet. So after that MSRP price increase on March 31st, I never considered that Pokemon would still potentially go back and reprint stuff at that lower MSRP, because Pokemon, and no, people are going to be out there going, no, everything's the new MSRP. No, Pokemon went out of their way and said, old products stay at the old price. New products are at the new one. So it's not like they print old stuff and charge new prices. No, it doesn't work like that. I never one time considered that maybe after March 31st, going into the summer, they could still be printing old stuff. I never consider that. But now I'm not ruling that out either. And that's why it's good sometimes. Like, I tried to be fluid in this hobby. I try to constantly be changing my mindset, changing my opinions on a lot of stuff. And that was something that I never heard a lot of people talk about. And it was something that I had maybe ruled out in the past, but I'm no longer ruling that out. So, and that could be wrong too. I mean, we're throwing darts at a dartboard with our eyes closed. So, all right, Electrobuzz. I like your name, man. I like your little photo too. He says, maybe Pokemon is always improving. Pokemon is doing a good job, always improving. Let's see. Some people are talking about why Japanese people like waifus. Yeah. So we got a lot of familiar names in the chat. Always good to see Drew in the chat. Shout out to Drew, the #1 mod in the game, man. Drew brings up a good point. Says, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. If you guys haven't hit that like button, I appreciate it. I think, what are we at like right now? Like 5 likes. Let's get the like views up a little bit. Yeah, people are saying Chillin Pain. Yeah, Chillin Pain was definitely a painful set. Quate from Compton. Good to see you, bud. Quate's a good guy. So he says, hello, PK. Hello, everyone. Today I celebrate exactly 2 years since returning in the hobby. The first Pokemon product I bought was a McDonald's Happy Meal 25th anniversary promo. That was awesome. And why that's awesome is because I've talked to Quate a little bit, like in private messages and stuff, and that dude's moving along. He's making some interesting plays in the hobby, and he's definitely growing a lot. And it's amazing what 2 years in this hobby can do for some people. I've made videos. I think I titled the video like Changing of the Garden Pokemon and stuff, and where in the past it took a while to acquire a lot of information, a lot of knowledge. Like, it wasn't this simple task. Pokemon, I believe, in my opinion, was just way more passive. At least it was for me. I can only really speak from personal experience. Pokemon was a little bit more passive, where you just kind of didn't think about Pokemon like every second of every day. Where now, the last 2 years, like, Pokemon has more or less taken up way more brain space than it had ever taken up at previous points in this hobby. But I just think that the people that have been here for like the last 2 years now, the amount of knowledge that they have gained in the last 2 years far surpasses any sort of knowledge that I gained in the same timeline. I talk about it all the time. When I got back into this hobby, I was buying base set Raichus because that was the card I never had as a kid. And I was just buying out eBay. And I wasn't buying like first edition Raichus. And I wish I could sit here and tell you that's what I was doing. I was just buying any Raichu. Just didn't matter condition. Almost all unlimited. Very little. I actually picked up a couple Shadowless like by accident, but like that was what I was doing when I got back into the hobby. Now I'm hearing about some of the people getting back to the hobby and they're telling me the plays they're doing. And then it like compounds on some of the plays. And people are talking about plays that I wasn't even considering till like a half decade later in the hobby. So we're talking 5+ years. People are doing plays in 6 months that it took me 5 years to even consider. I wasn't even doing them after I considered. And people are doing them like a year in, 2 years into the hobby. This hobby is like on this crazy fast track for a lot of people, and the knowledge I think the internet helps a ton with that. I think I don't think, I mean, I hope channels like mine are helping do that, are helping like push people in the right direction. I hope that channels like mine aren't putting people in the wrong direction. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there will tell you that, and they're just because they just hate me for whatever reason. They will tell you that all the information I'm giving you guys is the wrong information, but I'm telling you what I'm doing. I'm telling you what works for me. And yeah, the hobby's changed so much. A lot of people talking about the Ricky Bobby in the thumbnail of this video. If you're not first, you're last. But if you're grading CGC 8.5s, you're last. I've done it. I made that mistake. That was a huge mistake. I got my CGC 8.5s. I moved on from it. It's been tough. I'm still cracking out some of those returns. It's like a long process. Some of the ones that I got really beat up on. The fact that every single CGC from my personal returns that I've cracked out have now graded 100% Gem Mint 10 rates. And that's going to be a slow grind for me to crack a bunch of those 8.5s and 9s. The fact that my current success rate from crossing over from CGC from my submissions, the ones that I got beat up on, are 100% Gem Mint 10 rate is not a good rate. While some people are like, oh, that's great, PK. You got the 10s you always wanted. It's like, yeah, those cards have been dead. That's what those cards are. They're dead. They're not moving. They're not doing anything with them. They're just going to sit there until eventually, like, I'm not going to grade a lot of these. I graded like some of the non-hollow rares for some of the cards I got beat up on, but some of these, a lot of them were like, you can go back. I have a video on my stream where I got back all those returns. A lot of them were like commons, uncommon, Skyridge cards. Not doing it. Not grading Skyridge commons, uncommons at $15. No, not doing it. I did it at CGC when it was $7, but yeah, not doing it with PSA, and especially after cracking them out. It's just what a waste. Just take your money. I could have just like crumpled it up, maybe put it through a paper shredder, chopped it up real nice, diced it up, just flushed it down my toilet. It would have been a better use of my money, because at least I would have knew at the time that it was stupid. I don't know, I've had to wait the months that it took. You guys didn't think I could do it. You didn't think I could shit on CGC this video. Guess what? Don't underestimate me. Don't underestimate what I could do in a video. I will. And I will continue to shit on CGC. Because I'm hurt. I'm burnt. I think butt hurt is the word people like to use. Yes. Oh, I skipped to the bottom of the chat. Cruel world. Cruel world. Let's see. Ancient Mew, good to see you, bud. Ancient Mew, let me know down in the chat. Did you open a third Moonbryon? Are you the luckiest person that I know? A lot of people saying shake and bake, baby. Yeah. Simon Crook, good to see you. Can we talk about Rattle getting scammed? Yes. Oh man. Listen, I already talked to Rattle about this, but the fact that Rattle got scammed getting resealed Scarlet and Violet booster boxes from it was only the Violet ones. I don't think no, it was the Scarlet ones. It wasn't the Violet ones. But the fact that Rattle got scammed on Scarlet booster boxes from Japan. Go back if you guys haven't watched it. Rattle's most recent video, you got to click on the live tab. You can't click on like the regular video tab. Click on his live, watch that opening. At the beginning of the video, he's super confident. He's like, everybody's worried about being scammed and stuff like that. And, don't worry, just buy from reputable sellers. And then he gets like 2 promo cards and he gets some extras and he's like super happy with it. And he's like, oh, this is a good seller and stuff like this. And he opens up his first Scarlet box, goes through it. No SR cards. Okay. Goes to the next one, goes through it, none. And, you could already see the chat was going. And then Rattle made a great video today. And one of the things he showed, which you guys all should have, is one of these. This is a black light. Use black lights, especially if you're ever wondering if your slabs are fake. And I made a video. You could put a black light against your slabs, and like a PSA that's only visible through a black light will appear. So I definitely recommend you guys getting a black light. But he used his black light to look where they glued it. And then you can tell like the original flaps look like a hot glue gun. It's like that very blobby type glue, what you would see from a hot glue gun. And then on the other side, you can tell like where all the added glue was. So those booster boxes were definitely open, definitely resealed with glue. And yeah, Japan did a cool thing where they tried to add that pull tab to it, which the pull tab was supposed to make resealing an issue, which was amazing because when Japanese boxes started to get resealed at the very beginning, how quickly the Japanese Pokemon company was able to put in like a deterrent, which was that pull strip, was like immediate. They were able to do that. Like it was super fast. And I mean, you're changing the entire design of a booster box, whether or not that was like in the pipeline already and Japan was ready to do it. But when it started to get bad, they added that super quick. Listen, there's a problem. The Japanese booster boxes are just inherently way easier to reseal. The first thing is that clear cellophane wrap. At least on the English side, we do have the Pokeball ones. And then if you go back on the English side and go back for the more vintage stuff, you have like, go back pre-Skyridge, so Skyridge and earlier, at least you have your Wizard of the Coast like logos on it. Don't get me wrong. We do live in the world of 2023 and you can go on, your different websites and like get that wrap, get the fake Pokeball wrap. You could get the fake Wizard of the Coast wrap. Like that stuff exists today. But at least that is one more level that they have to do. Where at least the Japanese resellers, they're not dealing with that. They're just normal plastic wrap. Now, he was able to tell, and then he had the 2 booster boxes. He showed in the video, like one of them was more crinklier than the other. And if you go back, when PokeRev came on, join one of the podcasts with myself, Cool Train Ryan. If you guys are not subscribed to this channel, if you're not familiar with that, go back. Got a ton of great lives. One of them, PokeRev, came on. And one of the questions I asked him was, PokeRev opened up a fake Japanese Neo 1 box, so just Neo Genesis base. And during that opening, it ended up being a fake resealed Japanese Neo box. And one of the strong indicators of that box being fake was that wrap, because the wrap he had was like a way more crinkly wrap, where like the ones Pokemon uses are way more like soft. But even that's not enough. And it's the same because you can just get the softer wrap. Like that's just one added thing. And then that's why a lot of people in this community won't touch like green wing Charizard shadowless boxes, because if green wing shadowless boxes are like the clear seal plastic cellophane. This is before Wizard of the Coast WotC got into putting their WotC logos on it, like you've seen on like unlimited booster boxes. And then the same thing with first edition base booster boxes. First edition base booster boxes run to the exact same issue, that same issue of like clear cellophane wrap. So that's why you have your shadowless boxes, and your first edition boxes in our hobby are the easiest to reseal on the English side. And we've seen it. We've seen it now. People love their stop tape, don't they? Shout out to Logan Paul's fake freaking case. Or even the dumb money guys. Again, bought it from Collectible Guru. Collectible Guru swore up and down that the guy he bought it from was legit. He bought a real stuff from him. He got it from a gun safe, and then they opened up a live stream, and it was a fake first edition box. Well, should I say it was a fake first edition box? It was a real first edition box. The actual cardboard was real. The packs inside, somebody did a good job reselling it. They at least knew to put the long current packs on the top. And then as they started to go through, the packs were open. It was actually ended up being this is the thing. Again, listen, I hate a bad resale job. Hate it. You're going to resale a booster box. fucking don't be lazy. Don't do it. Don't do it lazy. Don't just do the 2 packs on top. You're gonna reseal a booster box, do it right. Make sure all the packs are resealed. Make sure that the cards that are in the packs are the real cards. Nope. Collectible Guru couldn't even do that. Freaking loaded these packs with like base set 2. And then, the guy that he swore up and down, like, they ended up some of it being like Sword and Shield era cards. So like it was a recent resale. You couldn't even, you know, a good resealer is at least going to have plausible deniability. What is plausible deniability? Plausible deniability is I bought it resealed. It's the same thing that goes on to like that recent Expedition resale booster box. I made a video. One of the Whatnot sellers opened it on a live stream, ended up being fake. They bought it from PWCC. Backstory behind that booster box, as sketchy as you get. Everybody gave me so much shit when I made a what if the Whatnot seller was selling it. Everybody's like, the guy that was selling that booster box was legit as fuck. Listen, I'll tell you right now, and I know for a fact, the person that bought that, or the person that opened that booster box on his channel, he was consigning that box for somebody, open or more, I don't know, opening it for somebody. He did not buy that box. So the guy that everybody was just like, the guy that opened that booster box, he's legit as they get. He's super trustworthy. He didn't even buy that box on PWCC. He bought it from somebody else. So listen, PWCC sent that booster box to somebody else. Somebody else got that booster box, then gave it to that guy. There's middlemen in between. PWCC, obviously. Paper hand bitches folded, returned money. I never, not a million years would I return money. There was way too much sketchy stuff went on from when that booster box was sold by PWCC and got to that Whatnot seller and whatever. Like, people are going to say what they want, but like never would have refunded. And now PWCC just butchers all their verifications and stuff, taking packs off screen and stuff. Supposed to be like this legit company doing verifications. Sent Rusty that booster box of Fossil that they opened on stream to check if it was tampered. The way they put their tamper-proof seals on, they took the cellophane wrap and stuffed it in the booster box and then fucking put tamper-proof seals on it. But the way they put the tamper-proof seals on it, you could still slide packs out of it. And obviously, Rusty's not fucking resealing anything. And like, I will go to the grave saying that. Like, Rusty's one of the most trustful people in the hobby, but he got that booster box and you could have slid packs out if he wanted. So if Rusty was some super sketchy guy, which he is not, but if he was, or just any other Joe Snow off the street, bought that same Fossil booster box, they could have slid packs out of it and then sold it with the PWCC guarantee because it has the PWCC verification tamper-proof seals on it. But because PWCC didn't know how to put tamper-proof seals on it, which again is ridiculous. People could have just slid packs out and then oh my god, that would have just been this compounding thing of just ridiculousness if somebody did do that, which thank God nobody has done that. Start sliding packs out of a poorly resealed, authenticated box. Can you imagine? Like, just, oh yeah, I could see these tamper-proof seals. Well, I'm just gonna slide the pack out of the gap in between and then just repacked it. And then, but anyways, back to that Expedition booster box. The problem with that Expedition booster box is the person who resealed it again is an idiot. They did a great job. If it was in fact sold through PWCC and it wasn't resealed after the fact, after it sold on PWCC, they made a huge mistake. They resealed that thing with Crimson Invasion packs. What does Crimson Invasion packs do? Takes away your plausible deniability. Because what are Crimson Invasion? That is, the third set of Sun and Moon. So you got Sun and Moon base, you have Guardians Rising, then you got Crimson Invasion, so third set of Sun and Moon. That's not a long timeline. You give away all your plausible deniability right there. All these guys doing the reseals. Listen, plausible deniability, you just say, oh, I didn't know it was resealed. These people are dumb. But that's the thing about scammers. Scammers are dumb. Scammers are dumb. They're shitty people. They're dumb. And they're going to do dumb stuff. It's just like when I make all my videos showing people getting scammed on like some of these platforms. The reason why I can make those videos are because the people that are doing it are dumb. They're dumb. They're dumb. They're bad people. And usually bad people are dumb. And by doing dumb stuff, you get caught, and a lot of people are getting caught. So, yeah. Casey says, how do you feel about modern Pokemon, PK? I love modern Pokemon. I own every single modern set that has recently been released in the last lot of years. And I own booster boxes in every single one of them. And I love modern Pokemon so much that I'm putting away one of every modern booster box for my son for when he gets older. I think the word we all decided on as a group was his dowry. That's what it is. Um, let's see. Anthony says it's a racket and we're the balls. You get hit and misses, but in the end, it's just a game. That's a good way to look at it. So Adrian says, I wouldn't buy any Pokemon if it wasn't his side hustle. It's way too expensive. Pokemon can easily start to add up. I think where Pokemon really starts to add up is if you start to do financial losses. You start to do financial losses. And the problem is a lot of what I do, and again, a lot of this is just me talking from personal experience. A lot of what I do in Pokemon is I need to use the hobby to grow the hobby. So it's that constant turn and burn like, use the money, buy one thing. When you get that card back, you flip it, you get that money, and you keep using that money and compound it into the hobby. And one of the things about compounding is hopefully, sale after sale, you're not losing money and you're not breaking even. Trust me, plenty of times in this entire history of this hobby where I've lost money on stuff, and plenty of examples where I've only broken even on stuff. There's plenty of examples. But if those start to outweigh all your wins, now that's when you start to, really get hurt. You need your wins to far outseed all your losses. And for me, a loss is break even, because for me, that's stagnant money in 2-3 month timeline. Because a lot of what I consider losses means I picked it up raw, I graded it, broke even. Your timeline for that could be like 3 month timeline, especially with how quickly modern turnaround times are for grading. But still, that's stagnant money for 3 months. So that's not really what I like to do. But if you start to have those plays start to compound now, and so it's just sale after sale, flip after flip, is either you losing money or breaking even, or the worst thing that happens is you put money into it and you have that sole intention of, I bought this as just a flip. I'm not going to do anything else with it. It's just a flip. And you get that card back and it just gets destroyed by grading, comes back like a 6. You missed a dent. It happens to the best of us. You missed a dent. You're like, I can't sell this card. So then you're into a card for $50 raw. You spent $15 to grade it. You're all into that card for $65, hits a 6, and now it's just dead money. And you're like, I'm never going to sell this 6, and just sits there. And now that $65, which you could have taken that $65 and turned it and burned it and continued to compound it with wins, now just is dead. That happens. That's a scary thing. And if people do enough of those mistakes over and over and over again, and all those $65 losses start to add up and compound over the course of a year, 2 years, or say 5 years, and now you got 100 plays at $65, you got $6,500 locked up in just dead money. And that is where it could be tough. So yeah, it's definitely a grind. Let's see. People saying Kanto hit hard. Kanto hits hard, yeah. Let's see. Oh wait, I must have scrolled too far up. All right. D Apperdan 772 says he wished his dad was mean in quotation marks and didn't let him open packs he bought him when he was a kid and kept them sealed for 20 years later. Yeah. I always wonder if there was a parent out there doing what I'm doing, but I doubt it, with the exception of maybe old Gary King Pokemon. If Gary's out there in the lurking in the chat, maybe Gary was doing it, but Gary was an exception to the rule. One of the things Gary talks about is he talks about going to the Wizard of the Coast store, like at the printing facility, the actual Wizard of the Coast store, because he grew up in was living in California at the time. He could go to the actual store itself. And he talks about loading up the trunk of his car with base set booster boxes. I promise you, from the bottom of my heart, my mom was not buying me a trunk full of base set booster boxes. So I don't think there was a lot of parents like putting away booster boxes for their kids. Or if they were doing it, they weren't doing it with like the potential of that thing being worth more in the future. I doubt it. Let's see. Son of a Merc says, how's your Canadian accent? Eh? I don't know. Jason says, what up, PK? Good to see you there, Jason. Diapper Dan says, how I invest in Pokemon. Do I like it? Yes. Therefore, buy more. I like it. Cheers. Patrick Swayze was talking about the Ryan video saying, bro, the V-neck was prime. Yeah. If you guys caught that. So at the very beginning, it was just like a regular white Hanes t-shirt with no V-neck. And then as the video went longer, that V just got deeper and deeper until at the very end of that video, that was a deep V. Professor Oak says, you know what I loved about the videos? You could tell you were enjoying it. Felt like you were laughing together about the whole thing. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Fat Belly Collect says, PK Sun's about to be ripping for years. Yeah. I can't wait. I don't know. What do you think is, for those of you that have kids out there, what do you think is that prime year for kids when kids are really into Pokemon? Is it like 8 to 10? Like that would be the timeline that I think, or maybe 8 to 12 when they're super engaged in Pokemon. But 12 could be a little old, but listen, I have a feeling my kid will like Pokemon like forever. If he doesn't, I'm feeling as a parent to him. But I think I'm going to make him. I think my son will like Pokemon at maybe a little bit different of a level. Like I think he will be a little bit more engaged with. I don't know though. I don't know. See, he's too young, but I'm excited about the future. And oh my god, if he doesn't like Pokemon, Raboid Boys Z says, is base set 2 reprint for that 151 set? Yeah. Is base set 2 just a reprint of base set Jungle Fossil? Yes. Son of a Merc says, okay, J Love had a good point about the waifu and which artists illustrating the cards and why it makes sense they're expensive. Maybe. Maybe, but I think you could pull that argument apart a little bit if you start to look at which waifu cards are selling for the most and what do those waifu cards look like. And the more waifu they get, the more the prices sell for. So I don't know. I'm not gonna get 100% on that because nope, I'm not. I think that's a little bit of a stretch, in my opinion. Could be wrong, but I think if you start to look at which waifu cards sell the most, is it an artist thing or is it how curvaceous some of these waifus are? Let's see. Pack Trick says, I mean, everyone and their dog is hoard and sealed product. When the hype dies, it may take years for modern sealed to grow. Maybe. I've been saying that for a long time, man. I know that about a lot of sets. I mean, everybody does the Sun and Moon thing. Well, people don't even allow to talk about Sun and Moon. You know, think about the last sets of Sun and Moon. Team Up, Unbroken Bonds, Unified Minds, Cosmic Eclipse, last 4 set, Sun and Moon. People are like, no, we're not even going to talk about Sun and Moon because if you talk about Sun and Moon, you're not taking into account the shutdowns, the lockdowns, and everybody getting back into the hobby. You're not talking about the Logan Paul like hype period. So you don't even talk about Sun and Moon. It's like, okay, we only talk about Sword and Shield. It's like Sword and Shield base set booster boxes, Realm Clash base set booster boxes. Those are super expensive. What is the most expensive Sword and Shield ETB? Yes, ETB, Rebel Clash. You heard that right. Most expensive modern booster box is Rebel Clash. So then it's like, oh, well, you can't talk about Sword and Shield and Rebel Clash. And then you start to look at, some of these sets. And then it's just, it's that conversation becomes real hard. Now, what I can get on is you can't have exponential growth like this forever, right? Like, the exponential growth that says is Evolving Skies. So Evolving Skies, 95 to 100 or 95 to 150 to 200 to 300 to 300 plus. That's a fickle thing. Like a reprint of Evolving Skies will crush Evolving Skies for the near term. Now, you can look at some, and people will say, well, no, PK, that's not true. Evolving Skies is too strong. It's going to rebound. Look at Hidden Fates. Hidden Fates, 151 set, best set ever made. Shining Fates, best set Pokemon ever made. Crown Zenith, best set Pokemon ever made. Hidden Fates, best set Pokemon ever made. Go back to Hidden Fates. At the height, Hidden Fates ETBs, $300. After the most recent reprint of Hidden Fates, ETB is selling for $150. You look at that and you say, that is still way above MSRP on Hidden Fates, $150. Yes, but it was at a high of $300. And then you look at what are Hidden Fates ETB selling at today. They're still selling at $150. So a reprint of Hidden Fates did not kill Hidden Fates, because I just told you, it went from 300 to 150 and MSRP is $49.95. Did not destroy it. But it now just, that massive reprint has just now kept Hidden Fates stagnant now for a long period of time. And I think that would be like the danger for something like Evolving Skies, where a big reprint maybe wouldn't be able to crush prices down to like a Chillin Rain, $79.95 as I walk through the valley of the $79.95 booster box. I fear no evil. Probably won't see that sort of example or like situation, but I could see something where a big reprint knocks down Evolving Skies, and then what Evolving Skies does is it flatlines for a while, very similar to a Hidden Fates, where maybe Evolving Skies flatlines at 180. Maybe it flatlines at $200. But now $200 is a huge difference from the 130 that Evolving Skies is selling at right now. But if anybody looks at a modern booster box and they say, yeah, but $200 is super strong, they are 100% correct. I'm just saying, like, those are the dangers where it's not really bad, but it's not great. Does that make sense? Hopefully that made sense. Hopefully that was a good analogy. Like, that would be more the dangers I would feel with something like that. So when he says, modern could be stagnant for years, like, that's what he could mean. Yeah, people are saying even if there's 10,000 box breaker, there's 10 million hoarders. There's definitely more people keeping sealed product. Yamamoto says Evolvin's about to be $400 a box. Evolvin's playing out very similar to Team Up. We've seen it happen before. Nothing shocks me with Modern anymore. Jason said the reprint of Steam Siege is going to be crazy. It's not Steam Siege. I'll throw that out there for it. Let's see. We got Drew. Says, if you got any questions for PK, I just highlight my name. Matt M says, Crown Zenith will be released in various tins, collection boxes for the next 3 to 4 months. So will be plenty out there. Yeah, it's going to be reprinted in ETBs too. Crown Zenith is not the end of this. The fact that people think that there's no more waves of Crown Zenith coming are just, they're delusional. All right. Castle Strong says, I've switched to buying in large quantities from online retailers. He never pays more than $3.50 a pack, taxes plus shipping included. If that means I'm not opening the latest set on release, so be it. That's some of the hardest thing people got to do. So you're already like 2 steps in front of everybody. Some people just really struggle with that, just letting stuff pass them sometimes. And sometimes you got to do that. I talk about it. There are products out there that exist where if you missed your opportunity, I'm sorry. You had your opportunity. You missed it. There's nothing you can do. Don't turn back. Just keep going. You're going to have other opportunities and other sets in the future. Maybe you missed out on one. Sorry. You missed out on Team Up. You missed out on Cosmic Eclipse. So be it. That sucks. Sucks to be you. It's not the end of the world. You didn't get back into the hobby till 2019, and you weren't back in the hobby in 2009. It's okay. Sucks to be you. I wasn't back in 2009. Sucks to be me. We'll move on. We'll get over it, So, Cadle says, as viewers of PK, we are all fans of CGC 8.5s. Yeah. Look, I'm a fan of CGC 8.5s. Those are all CGC 8.5 energies. I like them so much that I've graded. Oh, and that card right there. That's an unlimited Jungle Pikachu in an 8.5. Touche. So I do also like those. And when I bring my son down here, he likes to look at everything on the shelf. The one thing he loves more than anything else are those CGC 8.5 energies. I want to say it's because of the colors of the cards, but I doubt it. He just might be a real big CGC 8.5. And then I have to question my wife. Is it really my son? Why does he like these 8.5 so much? Are you sure it's my kid? No. She's going to hear this video and be like, what? What are you saying? No, that's funny joke though. Simon says, I'm a dad. It's hard for my 6-year-old to comprehend leaving Pokemon sealed. Hard for me to say no, to hear. Yeah. Sometimes it's hard for a lot of adults to keep Pokemon sealed. TK doesn't do Chinese collecting. That is false. That is false. There are a couple really beautiful Chinese collection boxes out there. One might be a Charizard. One might be a Venusaur. One might be a Blastoise. One might be an Umbreon. I don't do Chinese collecting. I don't think that comment's really true. There's some really cool collection boxes out there that are not that expensive yet, with a T. Maybe they're expensive. I could be wrong. They actually could be expensive now. It's been a while since I looked at those. Bro, when is Battle Styles going to be our favorite set? Battle Styles is everybody's favorite set, isn't that true? Sleepy T? Sleepy T is my favorite alternative art card. Matt M says, is that Ryan in the chair or in the chat, or is that PK pretending to be Ryan? Oh wait, Cool Train Ryan is in this chat. I just switched right past him. He says drinking water. Ryan, we were drinking some crankies earlier. You know, what do you know about crankies, Ryan? These are 6.8%. Put you on your ass, crankies. All right. Made it to the bottom of the chat. Good enough. Hour 16 minutes. Listen, if you made it to the end of this video, I don't know how you did it, but you did it. Congratulations to you. You deserve a medal. If you made it to the end of this video, if you're making it to the end of all these videos and you're not hitting the like button, listen, I don't ask you for anything. Just hit that like button. That's all I ask. And if you're not subscribed to this channel, hit that subscribe button, especially if you're making it to the end of hour and 16-minute live. Do a lot of these type of lives, a lot of fun. But with that said, guys, appreciate every single one of you guys. If it weren't for you, would not be in this hobby, would not be making these videos. It's because of you that I make these videos. And you guys are making this hobby fun for me. But with that said, I'll catch you on the next video.